Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. Nestled in the heart of Maplewood, the setting sun cast long shadows over the desolate streets that once buzzed with life. The wind whispered through the trees, lining the abandoned park, their barren branches looming like skeletal fingers against the fading light. The echoes of laughter seemed to linger, trapped in the air along with the scent of damp earth and nostalgia. In this seemingly tranquil town, the disappearance of Lily Carter was a dark specter that haunted the community. Just 16 years old, Lily was a bright, inquisitive girl with dreams that reached beyond the confines of Maplewood. With deep brown eyes and a contagious smile, she painted the world with promise. Her sudden absence shattered the illusion of safety that many held dear, forcing neighbors and friends to confront the unsettling truth. Evil can lurk in familiar places. As days turned into weeks, the search grew frantic. Flyers printed with Lily's face plastered every lamppost and storefront, but hope began to wane as each tip came to nothing. The police, using every available resource, combed through the urban sprawl and dense woods surrounding the town, but nothing yielded fruit. Lily's bedroom, once a sanctuary adorned with trophies and photos of friends, became an eerie shrine, echoing with unspoken fears of what might have happened. The community stood on edge, their trust tarnished by the unknown. Conversations at the local diner grew hushed, and quick glances turned into furtive stares. Lily wasn't just a beloved daughter. She was a mirror reflecting the insecurities and vulnerabilities of an entire town. Yet, beneath the layers of anxiety and despair, the intricacies of the case began to churn, weaving a sinister tapestry that would entangle all unwittingly involved. The victim. Lily Carter was not just a name on a missing persons report. She was the vibrant pulse of her community. Every morning, the cheerful chime of the school bell heralded her arrival, punctuated by her laughter that melded effortlessly with the sounds of innocent chatter. As the star of the local soccer team, she radiated joy, her energy igniting the spirits of those around her. Teachers favored her for her insatiable curiosity, while friends adored her for her loyalty and warmth. Her family, residing in a modest home adorned with flower boxes and shutters, epitomized the idyllic suburban life. The Carters were tight-knit, spending weekends in the backyard, cultivating a garden that flourished with colors amidst the otherwise muted setting. Lily's younger brother, Danny, looked up to her with unwavering admiration, often tagging along, emulating his sister's every move. But beneath the veneer of a perfect life were the unmistakable strains of adolescence. Lily had begun to explore her independence. Conversations took on a more profound significance, delving into the complexities of friendships and first crushes. She yearned for freedom, while wrestling with the reality of parental expectations, a tension that sometimes brewed beneath the surface. The night of her disappearance was like any other, with the faint rustle of leaves and distant stars dancing in a velvety sky. It began with a mundane disagreement about curfews. Lily had wanted to attend a gathering at a friend's house, a seemingly innocent request that spiraled into frustration. When she left her home, she did so with determination etched across her features, unaware that the last setting sun she would witness would not be accompanied by the laughter that filled her days. By dawn, the weight of silence began to envelop her home, wrapping around the hearts of her family, their hopes dwindling with each passing hour. The crime scene. The morning light struggled to break through the heavy clouds that hung over Maplewood as investigators arrived, at the wooded area where Lily's body was discovered. Stacked alongside the towering oak trees, the ground was a dismal shade of brown, remnants of fallen leaves, and branches composing a natural carpet that concealed the distressing reality etched beneath. The air was thick with a palpable tension, the scent of damp earth mixing with the metallic tang of grief. Sergeant Angela Roberts, seasoned and meticulous, led the team as they cordoned off the area with yellow tape, cautioning onlookers to maintain a respectful distance. A rustle of leaves underfoot echoed through the clearing, juxtaposed with the eerie silence that followed. The stillness hinted at secrets buried deep within the soil, and each step taken by the officers reverberated with the urgency for answers they desperately sought. The body lay motionless, partly obscured by overgrown underbrush. Lily's once vibrant presence was now a haunting shell, her face softened by a shroud of nature's own making. The trauma inflicted upon her was evident, casting a grim pall over the crime scene. As the forensic team meticulously extracted evidence, the gravity of the tragedy resonated within the silent whispers of the trees. Nearby, a discarded bracelet captured the attention of the crime scene investigator. It glimmered faintly among the fallen debris, a stark contrast to the forest floor. As they bagged the piece for analysis, it served as a haunting reminder of the life that was cruelly extinguished. With each passing hour, the fog of grief enveloped the town tighter as news of the discovery spread. As the reality of the heinous crime settled in, a collective horror surged through the community, igniting a primal fear that echoed in the hearts of parents everywhere. This could happen to anyone. The early investigation. The days following Lily's discovery were fraught with anguish, leaving an indelible mark on the town of Maplewood. As the news reverberated through the community, the police initiated a thorough investigation, hoping to untangle the threads of a crime that had left them in disbelief. Officers began combing through every detail of Lily's life, her friends, her routines, and even the social media footprints she left behind. Detective Jonathan Miles, a veteran investigator with a reputation for tenacity, took the lead. He convened a meeting with his team in the dimly lit precinct. Whiteboards were covered in timelines, photographs, and maps of the town, each conveying a piece of a puzzle yet to be solved. With furrowed brows, they reviewed witness statements, noting any discrepancies or potential leads that could paint a clearer picture of the last moments of Lily's life. As they delved deeper, the focus turned to Lily's social circle. Friends who were willing to share intimate details became pivotal in building a narrative. Each interview revealed layers of childhood friendships punctuated by the typical dramas of adolescence. There were whispered secrets about crushes, cliques, and insecure ESL forms were examined for possible motives or individuals who may have harbored darker intentions. Simultaneously, they scoured surveillance footage from local businesses, hoping to trace her movements on the night she vanished. Clips rolled across the dim, flat screens, showing Lily laughing, carefree moments transformed into haunting reminders as the team searched for a glimpse of unfamiliar shadows in the background. Central to their inquiry was the unique bracelet found at the scene, an object that could potentially link the perpetrator to the crime. All the while, the pressure mounted. The clock ticked relentlessly. Each passing day not only diminished hope, but also deepened the urgency to catch the one responsible before more shadows crept into the lives of innocent citizens. The dead ends. As weeks slipped quietly by, the fervor surrounding Lily's case transitioned into a chilling calm. What had once been a buzzing hive of activity within the precinct began to fade into an atmosphere thick with frustration. Detective Jonathan Miles leaned against the wooden table, where evidence was meticulously organized, his gaze drifting over the now stale reports. Each lead that had promised hope ultimately disintegrated into nothingness. Like whispers swallowed by the wind, investigators had pursued countless avenues, from interrogating known offenders in the area to tracing Lily's online interactions with alarming diligence. However, each lead turned up dry, leaving them mired in a swamp of uncertainty. Friends talked, but the information gathered didn't yield the insights they desperately sought. Many described lengthy interactions, but none revealed suspicious behavior that could link a specific person to the night Lily went missing. Days spent scrutinizing the blurry footage yielded little more than silhouettes. Faces lacked clear identification too, many potential witnesses blurred against an unfamiliar backdrop. 100 eyes flickered between the faces of Lily's peers, each carrying the same fearful uncertainty. Yet no one turned out to be the crucial key to unlocking the truth. Eventually, the engraved bracelet, once a beacon of hope, returned from forensics with no match. It was a common design, easily purchased in bulk by local vendors. The implications weighed heavy, but leads crumbled like brittle leaves beneath their feet. The haunting image of Lily's lifeless form would not easily yield answers, and their desperation mingled with despair. As the investigation lingered at a standstill, the media began to shift gears, slowly losing interest. The spotlight that once burned so brightly over Maplewood now dimmed, casting shadows that threatened to envelop the town itself. Detective Miles clung desperately to the belief that somewhere, somehow, an overlooked detail would surface to bring them back into the light. A break in the case. A month passed since the dark cloud of uncertainty descended over Maplewood, making every shadow seem sinister. Just as the town began settling into a mournful rhythm, a tip suddenly emerged from an unexpected source: a teenager who frequented the local skate park. The boy, who often went unnoticed, finally summoned the courage to step forward. It was a risk against his instincts of self-preservation, but he felt compelled by an urge to reveal something he'd observed the night Lily disappeared. Detective Miles and his partner, Roberts, met him in a quiet cafe, aiming to find a balance between encouraging openness and protecting his anonymity. The boy recounted that he had spotted a strange vehicle parked near the backside of the park where kids sometimes gathered, its engine running idly. The headlights dimmed, casting soft illumination on the asphalt, enough to reveal a girl arguing with a figure outside. Panic washed over the detective as he listened closely, his heart racing. Things didn't feel right, the boy said, his voice barely above a whisper. The guy was much bigger than her. I just thought it was a couple having a fight. I never thought. Miles could feel the adrenaline surging once again. This was not just another dead end. This was a foothold. The next step involved tracking down the vehicle. He scribbled notes furiously as the boy described a dark sedan with peeling paint and a dent on the passenger side. Hours later, the team mobilized, scouring parking records and patrol logs for anything that connected a car meeting the boy's description. The search pulled them into the mundane details of traffic reports and registrations, but as detectives pieced together the fragments, They struck gold. The vehicle was registered to a local man with a checkered past. As the sun dipped below the horizon, illuminating the precinct in hues of deep orange and purple, it felt like fire was reigniting within the investigation. This was the first clear link they had in weeks, a shimmer in the darkness awaiting to be followed. With hope rekindled alongside the determination of a community that believed justice was still within reach. The suspect. Once the connection to the suspect, Eric Simmons, was confirmed, the tension within the precinct thickened palpably. Eric, a man in his mid-30s, had been part of Maplewood's fabric for years, known for odd jobs around town. Yet whispers of his past flickered rumors of lingering danger. With a history marked by minor offenses and troubling behavior, he had fallen off the grid, lacking stable employment, while still living in a dilapidated apartment 2 blocks from the park. Detective Miles and Sergeant Sierra Roberts approached the case with careful precision. They knew the whispers swirling around Simmons would add fuel to the fixation of the media, but they required meticulous evidence before proceeding. They gathered the details of his whereabouts from the night of Lily's disappearance and coordinated surveillance to observe his movements. The once cheerful streets began to darken as shadows lengthened. The detectives installed cameras in undisclosed locations, honing in on his patterns while discreetly analyzing his interactions with neighbors, known affiliates. Days marched on without a lead, yet every instant of tension sharpened their resolve. Then, late one evening, surveillance captured Simmons acting unusual. He was seen loitering near local gas stations, glancing over his shoulder frequently, almost as if paranoid. When an officer undercover approached to engage him in conversation, Simmons exhibited signs of distress, his body language tightening. It was during a 10-minute exchange at a local diner that pivotal information surfaced. A witness claimed to have heard Eric discussing a girl matching Lily's description during the days leading up to her disappearance. With mounting urgency, it became necessary to bring him in for questioning. As detectives finalized plans to apprehend him, the air crackled with both anticipation and unease. There was no guarantee that this instinct was right, but hope sparked like a flame eager to spread. The community that had been silenced in grief braced itself, quietly yearning for resolution, while the shadow of Lily's tragedy loomed large in their collective heart. The trial of Eric Simmons opened amidst a tempest of media scrutiny, drawing the attention of the entire town of Maplewood and beyond. The courtroom, typically a scene of measured decorum, pulsed with a raw intensity as family members, friends, and concerned citizens gathered to witness the proceeding. The air hung thick with anticipation, grief, and an unyielding belief that justice must prevail. As the judge entered, the room fell into a reverent silence. Simmons, unremarkable in his demeanor, sat with his gaze lowered, a stark contrast to the emotional tumult that swirled within the gallery. The prosecution outlined the timeline of Lily's last moments, providing a meticulous account of the evidence that had linked him to that fateful night. The details were stark, and the victim's absence loomed over every prosecution witness who took the stand. Lily's parents, Peter and Margaret, clutched each other's hands, their eyes reflecting both pain and determination as they listened to forensic specialists recount the evidence found at the crime scene, including the bracelet that had been pivotal including establishing a connection belonging to their daughter. As each graphic detail emerged, gasps and murmurs punctuated the hushed courtroom. a sobering reminder of the violence that had erupted in their small, quiet town. Defense attorneys attempted to dismantle the prosecution's assertions, weaving a narrative that aimed to create reasonable doubt. They painted Simmons as a misunderstood man victimized by his circumstances, rather than as a monster. Witnesses were called who claimed to have seen him in the vicinity of the park, but each one of those accounts fell short of providing him with a plausible alibi for the time in question. As the trial unfolded, the gravity of Lily's story weighed heavily upon all, a spectrum of sorrow, anger, and hope intertwining with the pursuit of truth. The community held its breath each day, each testimony inching closer to a verdict that would either bring justice or deepen their collective mourning. In the final moments of the trial, Detective Miles was called upon to summarize the evidence with palpable conviction, urging the jury to see past the defense's distractions and recognize the harrowing reality of a life lost. As he spoke, the room resonated with a desperate longing for closure, the kind that could only come from a soul-wrenching verdict that would echo through the town for years to come. The aftermath. When the gavel finally struck, sealing Eric Simmons' fate, a wave of emotions surged through the courtroom. The jury's verdict resonated sharply, guilty on all counts. The collective sigh of relief from the gallery mingled with sorrow. The verdict brought a sense of justice, but could never restore the life that had been unjustly extinguished. As the judge delivered the sentence, a muted ache echoed through the hearts of those who had loved Lily Carter. Outside the courthouse, the sun shone brightly against the grim backdrop of the trial's conclusion. Yet the warmth felt foreign to the townsfolk shuffling through the streets. Candles flickered in memory of Lily at makeshift memorials that dotted the park. Each flame represented a spark of hope, of love, and the fierce resilience of a community scarred but united through loss. Families clutched their children a little tighter. The trust that once defined their hometown was now intertwined with fear. Shadows lurking where they never had before. Parents spoke in hushed tones about the need for vigilance, a departure from the naivete that root deep in Maplewood soil. Just days after the verdict, school counselors were invited to hold sessions, creating safe spaces for students to discuss the fear and trauma that had surfaced as pieces of normalcy crumbled. Detective Miles remained a constant presence, his keen sense of duty directing him toward healing alongside justice. He organized community forums, inviting locals to engage in conversations about safety, awareness, and vigilance. For the first time, neighbors who had previously brushed shoulders in silence began to connect, resulting in committees forming around emotional support. The tragedy, though painful, nudged the town forward toward unity. As leaves began to turn, painting the landscape with autumn hues, it became evident that the healing process would take time. Yet out of darkness, community gatherings emerged, with people sharing stories and laughter against the backdrop of their loss. Through their collective strength, they found a renewed purpose: to honor Lily's memory, ensuring that no other family would endure such heartbreak in the future. Though the scars would remain, they held tightly to one profound truth. They would continue to remember Lily, weaving her story into the fabric of their lives as a catalyst for change, a reminder of empathy, and a pledge to fight against the darkness lurking in their world. Reflection. Months rolled into the new year, and the once desolate shadows of Maplewood began to lift, replaced by a fragile sense of reconstruction. While Lily's absence wove an undeniable sorrow through the fabric of the community, reflections on her life began to transform grief into a quiet strength. Conversations at the diner, where the locals used to share tattered jokes, turned into discussions of resilient stories of all the ways Lily had touched their lives and inspired change around her. Her parents, Peter and Margaret, initiated a vibrant scholarship fund in her name, aimed at empowering young women in their pursuits, ushering them towards futures bright with possibilities. They poured their heartbreak into creating a legacy, fostering opportunities that resonated with Lily's passion for learning and growth. This endeavor ignited hope among the youth, a stark reminder that even through tragedy, one can create light. One can create light. At school, the annual soccer tournament took place in her honor, gathering students and families together, each play marked with cheers of encouragement and shadowed by memories of a spirited girl who once graced the field. The community embraced this act of remembrance as a way to uphold her memory, celebrating the essence of who Lily was, a beacon of love and vivacity. As Detective Miles made his rounds, he found solace knowing that the story hadn't ended in despair, but had blossomed into a narrative of purpose. The town, bonded by sorrow and renewal, stood together against the darkness, united by love for a girl who had brought them all together, a name that would forever echo in the hearts of those she inspired.